in your mind, what is an ideal archive? Where should it run?
It should run anywhere, but security is something that should be the key.
What matches your ecosystem, right? Like if there is a customer who predominantly runs in one of the cloud providers, let's say Amazon or Microsoft, then they should choose a solution that matches them, right? There is certain sensitive data that customers don't want to take to cloud that they would like to run on-prem within their own data center. And your archive should ideally be also, if somebody says an archive works on Postgres, I think customers should run away from them. When you're being in the archival industry for, more than a decade, you get to know what those challenges come in when you try to adopt these solutions. So
seems to be like a strategy that they use for the vendor locking.
Exactly. We get tons of RFPs, things that we see our customers miss.
Hi everyone, and welcome to one another show of Archive Talks. And today we are going to discuss about what an ideal archive should be. And to discuss about this, today I have Karkavel, the founder and CTO of Platform Design, joining us.
Okay. So very interesting topic, a topic that we talk about a lot. And I'm very excited to share, what we think is an ideal archive. Because, most of the time, I feel like a lot of customers in enterprise, right, they try to define what they want in an archival. We get tons of RFPs and we get the same questions most of the time. But there is also things that we see our customers miss. And maybe, today's session is more about giving them the secret key, telling them what really they should look for when they're trying to buy an archive. And, there is a lot of things people can miss. And it's just very interesting considering that with the AI and with all the capabilities that we have in our access today, it just it kind of makes me feel like there's a lot that our customers can ask from an archive, which they don't really ask for. And then there is also certain gaps that they forget to look until it's too late, until they select a solution and then they kind of see, oh my God, maybe this is what I should have looked for. So, we have a very interesting talk, I would say, to talk about what constitutes an ideal archive. What should they look for? What are the capabilities? What are the challenges they should try to prevent when they choose an archive and when they start building their enterprise archive? Now, let me first start by talking about where the archive runs, right? It's a big question because with banks, they prefer doing it in their own cloud. We have our own SaaS offering. There are customers who want to do it in GCP, customers who want to do it in on-prem, customers who think that, it has to be secured outside their regular production runs, different requirements. But where, in your mind, what is an ideal archive? Where should it run?
It should run anywhere, but security is something that should be the key.
Very good point. So, we have seen solutions that say, oh, we just are only native to this, or we have solutions that say, we can run across the board. But it really comes to security. I agree. But most importantly, right, what matches your ecosystem, right? Like if there is a customer who predominantly runs in one of the cloud providers, let's say Amazon or Microsoft, then they should choose a solution that matches them, right? But also they should have in consideration that there is every chance that they can move from one provider to another.
You don't want the vendor locking.
Exactly. But if the vendor's logged into one, let's say they say that, oh, I can just only run in Microsoft, then that's going to become a very big problem for them later on. So even though customers, I think ideally look for, hey, if they run in this particular cloud service provider, I'm happy. They should also look for compatibility and the flexibility of the solution running in other cloud service providers. And also for certain workloads, running on-prem is going to be very important. Do you agree? Because there is certain sensitive data that customers don't want to take to cloud that they would like to run on-prem within their own data center. And your archive should ideally be also able to support that. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, very true. Like the sensitive information, PII, compliance related, highly sensitive fields being attacked for ransom and other things being more predominant these days. People want it.
Absolutely.
And Karka, I have a question. Like you have been in this field for almost like a decade or so, right? More than that. So you might have seen people using archives for specific purpose, and now that the years are gone, do you see a change in trend?
Absolutely. I see a big difference, to be honest, because we used to say 10:1. For $1 spent on license, a customer used to spend $10 on services. The biggest shift I see now is that the automation that comes in, where we have made services so much simpler, and the amount of time it takes to archive information, that has changed very, very, very heavily. I would say that's the biggest change I see. In addition to that, how data gets stored, the compression. Now let's talk about that, right? So, people don't see with the reduction in the cost of storage. I don't think really that people care about compression a lot these days, but I think they should, especially because if you're dealing with 1 or 2 terabytes of data, I don't think compression matters that in a very big way. But if you're dealing with, let's say, 600 terabytes or 2 petabytes of data, how much you are able to compress the data.
Which you use and you do not use all of that.
Exactly. The ability to compress information is still key, is what I feel. And something that I feel a lot of customers who are evaluating an archive fail to see is asking that question, how much can you compress the data? Because we see in market today, there are archival solutions that actually bloat the data or, don't offer any significant compression. They say that, it is storage, right? But all of the archives today in the market charge by the number of terabytes in which, you archive information. And if you're able to compress and fit a lot of data into a small archive, then you're paying less, which means that your overall cost of your archive reduces very significantly. So in my mind, compression takes a very important position. What do you think?
Yeah, I do agree. Compression is one of the main reasons why people come. And I've been also in this field seeing the trend here, right? So compliance, security, and compression have been the factors. But if I have to wait for another 5 years or another 10 years, like why would people be using archival outside these?
Oh, very, very beautiful question, right? So there are 2 things in the market that don't change. One is M&As, right? Whenever there's a merger and acquisition, you are going to get redundant applications. You are going to see duplication of the same systems between organizations becoming one, right? So what do you deal with that data? That's one of the most significant reasons why people start archiving information. And the second thing is maturity of the products. Every 10 years, you see a new wave of products coming in. What was considered as the best CRM in 2000s are no longer in existence. And the same with ERP systems, HCM systems. There is a new generation of applications, enterprise applications that come in every 10 years. So what do you do with the old applications and all the old data? There is going to be always an explicit need to store, retain, and properly manage data with compliance. And that's where archival takes the biggest play. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. And with the rise of AI and other things, I believe the archive data is going to be the place where you're going to have your data trained.
That one too, I forgot to say that. Yeah. So the training and the management of enterprise data can happen within the archive. And that when you're having a compliant archive that is fully metadata driven, it makes training your AI so much simpler too. I agree.
My next question would be like, see, when I saw predominant ETL tools and archival solutions working together, there used to be a structured process. They have the data, they format it, they change it into an appropriate target system-oriented solution. The proprietary formats usually becomes key, and that is also one of the reasons for vendor lock-in. So as within our product, like, you had an ideology of how things should be. And
yes. So that's also a very good point on what a customer should be looking for when they are looking to buy an archive, right? You cannot get locked in with the type of data in which, or we have seen over the years, many archival solutions come that does 2 things. One is they change the format of the data. They could call it, we are making it more acceptable, but they change the format of the data, and that itself breaks the immutability factor of what an archive should do. The second thing that people do is store it in very proprietary formats that cannot exist outside their own ecosystem. And these things present their own challenges, right? Like, let's say 10 years down the line, if you want to move into another archive, you want to just simply extract the data, you cannot lock in with the vendor. Archive is a long-term solution, which means that you need to always have the freedom and you need to think ahead on how you're going to extract the data. And I think that definitely constitutes on how you define a good archive, right? But that also brings another point to me. The storage of the information itself, where archive stores the information. We have seen solutions that offer proprietary storages. We have seen solutions that offer to store data in databases, and we have seen, more scalable lakehouse based solutions. What would your choice be? What should customers look for?
In my mind, if I had to have a solution, I would simply want to put my files, and I want the archive to have everything. So file-based system is predominantly what I would be expecting. At the same time, I don't want to compromise on the security factor.
So see, one of the biggest challenges that I have seen with a lot of archives, they perform fantastically well. Especially, if somebody says an archive works on Postgres, I think customers should run away from them, simply because, think about it, right? A database, you are trying to get out of a database. You are trying to get out of a database into an archive solution. And then you end up going into another database, a database that has specific upper limits on how much data it can store. Everyone in the data management space know that, if you're, let's say, using Postgres, you are going to have performance issues. You're going to have scalability issues when you cross maybe, the 300, 400 terabyte thresholds. And why choose an archival solution that stores information in a database? That's just, for me, that's a big challenge, and I think our customers or any customers on enterprise should be very aware of how they choose their archival solution. Having a database storage to store archival information is criminal, according to me. A file-based system, great. Any lakehouse systems for that, any system that can prove that they can extend beyond the petabyte of storage and still perform scalably is what you need to look for in an archive. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree, and that's one of the major reasons why I told a file system would be more appropriate. And if you look at a DB, right, there is a containment zone, like what you can connect for the file-based solution, and especially what Archon does, it provides that true cross-connectivity between applications and interconnectivity of data. So a data that is available in one ecosystem, if it relates, right, the way to connect and extract or collate information must also be a part of the ideal solution.
Absolutely. Another significant challenge that I think, our customers should be aware of is point solutions, right? Now, a lot of the products, let's say enterprise ERP solutions, banking solutions have their own archive, right? For example, SAP has their ADK process to archive information. T24 has their DLM process to archive information. Now, they are actually very capable when you are talking about a certain size of data. SAP is able to significantly reduce their storage footprint by moving the data into an ADK file and then storing the ADK file. They have the SAP ILM process. But, when you are being in the archival industry for, more than a decade, you get to know what those challenges come in when you try to adopt these solutions. So, SAP recently, are forcing their customers to migrate into HANA. And what that does is, what happens to all the archive files that are in ECC? They have to be restored, migrated to HANA and archived again. The amount of time it takes to do something like that, because the data cannot be natively accessed from HANA. Or you have to build custom solutions and massive challenges come in. This is point number one, the discoverability of the information. You can still access the information that sits within an ADK file, but you cannot really access the data between two ADK files, or if you are trying to discover information across two different archive objects. So these are point solutions that work with a single product. If you are building an enterprise archive, my first suggestion is move out of these point solutions. You have to look at solutions that are beyond them, right?
It seems to be like a strategy that they use for the vendor lock-in.
Exactly. See, vendor lock-in is a big thing for any of the enterprise software products. And I think this is a big strategy that a lot of these companies do to hold their customers. And then let's talk about T24, right? Again, they have a fantastic archive solution. They are effectively able to move data out of their production database, keep it in other databases, and they still manage to access the data from T24. It's all great for a certain size of data. What happens after? The archive database itself becomes inaccessible. They get so huge that managing the data in between the T24 database and the archive database becomes so much challenging that I just see customers struggle after adopting these solutions. And I know there are also point solutions for, clinical systems, JD Edwards, systems that only archive PeopleSoft. All these point solutions work great on day one, but when you look at it over a period of time, past 5 years, past 10 years, they stop functioning effectively. You need a clean, vendor-free solution that can manage the data for decades, because that's where your retention policies are, correct?
You seem to be talking more about SAP T24, and the struggles of that seem to be echoing around.
Yeah.
What are the people's ideal expectation when they do the archive inside these systems?
Well, they have a certain level of trust. These are big brands, right? They have a certain level of trust with these products, and these products perform fantastically well in core banking or in SAP's case, being an ERP system. But archival is its own domain. I just wish every enterprise customer sees archival as its own domain. There are specialists like us who only do archive, who are able to manage data well over a long period of time. When you trust us, we make sure that the data's life cycle is fully managed by us, and they don't have to carry on that headache. When they start working with that solution and taking their ability on building these archives, that creates its own challenges, right? And that's kind of what, it's a pet peeve of mine, right? Why would somebody do it now only to struggle 5 years from then? In fact, we have a ton of customers who have started along their path on SAP Archival, then understand that, oh yeah, moving to HANA, doing all this becomes very difficult. I need to evolve and build an archive that's outside these systems. So that's something that, I feel like customers should be definitely on the lookout for. Do you agree?
Yeah. So, and there is a terminology that we keep speaking about, certified archive.
Yeah. See, European Union is coming up with a set of laws that can define an archive as a certified archive. We already know what those, certifications are. We have all of them, and we are working with certain governments to define how to store information in a very immutable way, right? And these certified archives will be mandated to store private information, some very sensitive information, so that enterprises can access them without worry, while the archive, who itself is an independent vendor, will manage the certified archive, will manage the lifecycle of the data. So I'm very happy that we have a product that's a certified archive. And, as we see, in the next couple of years, when the law comes into existence, we'll see more guys coming into the play. But a certified archive is going to be another important consideration for the customers to select the ideal archive, is what I think. See, outside that, right, access to the data, it's going to be very important how you access the information once you do the archive. I have seen customers spend a ton of time recreating their reports, screens, everything they need in the archive to access the information. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's always the whole school policy. Everyone wants to have the same experience that they used to have.
Right.
People should be also thinking about the consideration of how performance, formatting, and everything can be carried along as part of the migration. At the same time, ability to create new ones in the world of AI.
Right.
We have single-click options that can replicate your look and feel.
Absolutely. So the ease of access is going to be very important, right? And how automated that access is going to be. These are things I think every customer should check before they, decide to go with any archives. The other thing that I would like to talk about is the AI, right? With the AI making such big waves, how do you see that impacting archive, and what should the customer look for in terms of AI capabilities when they are looking to buy an archive?
If you ask me, I have a bunch of unstructured data, but I don't know what the value is. Mm-hmm. So processing the content information at the same time and making sure that the privacy is still held. That's kind of one of the factors that I would be looking in. Any thoughts about that, or anything that I should be considering?
See, the ability to automatically classify information, right? That ability is present today. AI has brought that ability to us. We need to bring that into the archive. I think, a lot of solutions are too far away from that. But if we can automatically classify information, if we can use AI to automatically access information, build generous amounts of metadata that fully define the data that's being archived, that's what I think AI is doing to us and will do to a lot of our competitors in the next few years.
Can I consider that deriving the context of the data that's also one of the conditions for an ideal archive?
Absolutely. I think especially when you're dealing with large volumes of information, having that context makes searching the data easy, makes classifying the data easy, makes identifying sensitive information on the data very easy, right?
Okay. Do you want to summarize everything that we have?
Absolutely. So, if I am an enterprise customer and if I am looking for buying an archive, building a strategic archive within my ecosystem, I think the number one thing I'd go for is a solution that's scalable, that's not a database archive, but a file-based archive or a lakehouse archive. And then the second point would be a system that's that can run on multiple cloud service providers, can run on-prem, a system that can compress information, can scale that information, and also one important thing, the ability to tier information. If you can only run on certain type of storage, if you can only manage data on a hot storage, that itself fights the purpose of archival. You need to have an archive that can tier storage between hot, warm, and cold, and that can manage the data between the tiers automatically, that can provide easy access to the information, and that can encrypt and store the data information very securely. If anybody who's trying to buy an archive can look for all of this in a solution, then I think they'll land with an archive that's very scalable, that can be worked upon for a long time and can be very successful for them. ADS does all of that, and I'm very proud about it, right? We have built something called, I would like to call us a next generation certified archive that can definitely manage and provide users with the ability to scale information, very securely store information, provide immutability while preserving the original format, automatically gathers metadata, provides very easy access to the information. And, that's why I feel very proud about our solution.
Any hint about what's coming next?
Oh, we definitely have a lot of work that we are doing on AI coming in. And I also think that there are a lot of surprises that I don't want to spoil. But very exciting times ahead for us.
Thank you, Karka.
Thanks, Malik.
Let's talk archival.